All right, welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Run for Covers. This is the video series where I cover those runs of variants that just where they pick a theme and basically run through a multitude of titles. And yeah, just some of those larger sets that are kind of tough to find these days, but are just kind of fun to look at. Now, I'm doing sort of a special extra-sized edition today, and it's going to be a little bit different than normal, but that's because this particular run of covers has an absolute ton of options. I can't even cover all of them because there are just too many to do. But that all being said, hopefully you like this content as well as the rest of the stuff here on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Make sure you keep telling your friends so we can keep growing this channel. We have a giveaway going on this week, so make sure you join the live show this Wednesday, the TAC show with me and Marco this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And if you're in that live chat, you will have a chance to win those Spider-Gwen prizes that I am giving away, a comic book and a toy together for a lucky viewer there in that live chat. And again, we're going to be doing more giveaways as time goes on, as I've got a lot more things in the hopper for 2022. So we're almost there, and got a lot of stuff coming your guys' way. So with that being said, if you want to see what this supersized edition is going to be all about, make sure to hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I'll be right back with the books. Okay, so as I kind of teased there in the open, we are going to be doing a supersized special edition this week, and it's going to be focused on my man Spider-Man. Hopefully you guys got out to see No Way Home this week. If not, hopefully you get to see it soon. It is an excellent film. I thoroughly enjoyed it and can't wait to actually go see it again and take my wife and son this next go around. But with the inspiration of that movie, I'm going to do a couple of specials just focused in on Spidey this week, just because he's kind of fresh on the brain, and I think it'll be kind of fun. So with our run for covers, and this is a huge cover run, we are going to be looking at the 2012 50th anniversary of Spider-Man covers. Now, this is an odd run because basically every ASM title of that year had the logo on it, so it's basically part of that run, even though they're not variants. I'm not doing all the regular titles. There are also other titles that carried that logo that were either just regular B covers, even a couple of incentives here and there that I just can't cover because there are way too many. What I'm basically going to focus in on is a few of those oddball variants that ran throughout 2012, and then I'm going to do another handful of the Decades variants that Marcos Martin did for the actual 50th anniversary issue, which I believe was 692. And then that same month, Marvel did a series of 1 in 25 variants that ran across a bunch of titles with the ASM kind of theme. I think it was Spider-Man in Motion is what those actual variants were called, and they are actually a series of connecting covers that connect into a larger poster-sized kind of image, and that's a whole run of like 20 books in and of itself. So we're looking at maybe 30 comics already, and I'm not covering everything, like I said, because there's still at least a dozen plus of just the regular ASM titles, and then a handful of other variants for other titles that ran throughout the year that we just can't cover. Just way too many this time for this topic. So it's not a complete run, but I think what we are doing is good enough for close enough for government work. Now, as I said, we're going to start off with the oddball things first, just because I want to get these out of the way. I didn't want to tack them on at the end. Let's just kind of wet the palate a little bit and look at these few randos, because some of these are incentives, some of them are not. Like this, I believe, was just a B cover for Captain Marvel issue 1. This was the Carol Danvers when she had the whole new suit. This is 2012. I believe this is her first run at being Captain Marvel in her own title, but here we have a Spider-Man variant to go along with that for his 50th anniversary. As I said, this was July 2012. This is a Paulo Rivera cover. Pretty cool. And this book, if you want to go and find one right now, you can find it as cheap as $18 or as expensive as $60. So some of these prices are going to be kind of wild with the ranges that they can be, because just inconsistently priced, either in what's being asked as well as what actually sells. Sale prices on this particular one, as you can see, best offer on $6, best offer on $8, and $1.75 at auction. So, as I said, inconsistently priced. We get $60 asking prices for a book that somebody just bought at auction for $1.75. And it's not alone being down there, because even those best offer prices accepted were $5 and $5.75. So this is just a pretty cheap book that's actually moving, but some of the asking prices are quite a bit more, as you saw. Another example of just a title that's just randomly jumping in with the Spider-Man variant is Hawkeye #1. This was the David Aja run, the Matt Fraction run that everybody is looking at because of the current Hawkeye show. But there was also a Spider-Man variant on that issue 1. As great as those issue 1 covers are, this was just a variant for Spider-Man that just didn't quite fit, but hey, this is what Marvel does. They do those theme variants. They jump across all titles, whether it ties into what's going on in the book or not. So this is August of 2012 cover by Pascal Ferry. And that's pretty cool. See a lot of Doc Ocks surrounding Spider-Man there. So that's kind of fun with the different Doc Ock versions going after him. If you want to see what's available on this one, you can see this one could be as cheap as about like $20 and go up to like maybe 30 as far as the asking prices go. But then when you look what actually sells, it does sell for around $30 because look, November 27th, there was a buy it now for 30. So definitely interesting. As I said, I kind of cherry picked a few of these oddball ones, the ones that I actually liked, just like this Venom one that we have here. This is Venom number 24. This is like the Agent Venom run where Flash Thompson was Venom. And this is a Scotty Young cover from September of 2012. Pretty cool. Hopping out of the birthday cake. Kind of fun. Wishing his buddy a happy 50th. What's available on this? Well, $40 to $50 are the asking prices right now for this one. And if you want to know what it sells for, well, there are no sales recently, so I don't have a price to justify those asking prices, but I'm not too surprised a Scotty Young cover like this would have an ask of at least $40 or $50. I would expect this to probably sell more in that $25 or $30 range, but that's where it's at. So if you're interested, that's what you got to work with, and you have no recent sales to kind of compare it to. So make your call on what you would like to do if you're interested in a book like this. And I think for our last random issue that I'm going to cover, this is ASM 700. Yes, there were a multitude of covers on this one, a lot of variants. It was a milestone issue. A lot happened. Gave us Superior Spider-Man. A lot to go into this. But this particular variant for 50 years of Spider-Man is a pretty cool, pretty fun little Christmassy Marcos Martin variant. And this one is not an incentive. This was just one of the variants that you could have ordered or the shop could have ordered, but it is not that easy to find. December 2012, as I said, Marcos Martin, pretty cool. He's going to lead into our next little set of variants. But what's available on this is $20 to $30, basically. $20 to $30. And even that $21.99, that's at auction right now, and there's a bid on it with still another 6 days left, so that's not going to end until next week. And $30 at a buy it now price if you were curious. And what's sold on this one? Well, this sells for $20 to $30. I mean, $26.51 with $18 shipping from the UK to be precise. But yeah, so definitely not a bargain book. It's definitely not a cover price book, and is one to keep an eye out for if you can find something in that ASM 700 range. Like I said, there's a lot of covers, even multiple printings of that book out there. Some of them pretty cool. And as I was kind of teasing there with the Marcos Martin, and also what I mentioned kind of in the open is with the 50th anniversary in June of 2012, they did decade variants, and all the covers were done by Marcos Martin, starting with this one, the bright yellow. This is for the 60s, to kind of denote those decades of Spider-Man that we've had in those 50 years so far, up until, the 2012. So debuting in 1962, I guess. There we go. Amazing Spider-Man, $6.92, the yellow cover, Marcos Martin. You see Peter getting bitten by the spider. Definitely pretty cool. As I mentioned, June 2012, copies out there listed for $27 to $33, thereabouts. So, $25, $30. Not too bad. Not an easy book to find. I don't see these a lot. You might see some lots of these books, some sets, because again, this is a set that in and of itself that people would like to collect. They could get pretty pricey because of one particular variant more so than the others is a little expensive, just based off the cover, I'm assuming, and I guess the subject matter, but we'll get to that one in a second. Just kind of wrap up here, the actual sale prices on this yellow covered 1960s decade variant: $30, $27, $35. So, like I said, still kind of in that same range as those asking prices. So that's what's out there if you're curious and looking for this particular one. While the 70s variant, which is up next, the red cover. And what I use is our kind of like a focus image. This one is a bit pricey. I mean, and it is an iconic moment. You know, he's holding Gwen there, assuming this is right after, you know, the snap that cost her life. So definitely a very important cover, important time frame for them to denote for the 70s. Again, Marcos Martin, same month, same issue. So this is the same issue. This is just another one of the variants that shops could have ordered. And available copies on this, $77, $100, $200 raw are the asking prices. So this is not cheap. This one's not cheap. And that bright red cover is going to make high grade also probably pretty tough. Anytime you have a singular color on a cover, I know a lot of people say, well, all black cover, all white. If you have just one color on a cover, it's just as fragile as all the other ones. The only extra you get with maybe a dark cover is a little bit of a chance more at rub. So you might get a little color rub easier on a darker cover than something else. But still, that red will be just as damage. You know, it'll absorb that damage just as easy as a black cover. Now, recently sold on this one to see if those high prices are being paid. Well, kind of. $60 to $75 on this were the two most recent sales, both of which were in November. So still a few weeks ago, but still not a cheap book. Not a cheap book at all. Which will take us to our next, the white cover for the 80s. And we got Venom, another iconic moment, iconic time frame. And that's kind of what these decades variants are kind of focusing in on for Spidey there, of like what is going on in that decade on the title. And I guess Venom would probably be the biggest, I guess, of the 80s. So there we go with the white cover, or black and white, I guess, for $6.92. Once again, Marcos Martin, same month, June 2012. Out there, there's one copy for $50 that I found pretty easily. But so this was also not a cheap one. And if we want to see what's actually sold on it, well, $35. So again, maybe not quite as expensive as the red, but it's definitely not as cheap as the yellow. Pretty close, but kind of in that middle ground between the two. Which will take us to our 90s cover, which is blue. This appears to be more of the Clone Saga being represented with all those different Spideys going after our Peter Parker there. Pretty cool cover. I kind of like this. And the blue is also very nice. And again, going to have the same problem as you are on the black, white, red, yellow, whatever color. These are going to be tough to keep in high grade, I would think. Marcos Martin, once again, 2012. He did all of these. We're looking at copies from anywhere from $20 to $30. Oh, wait, there's actually one for $16 and then shipping. So yeah, $20 to $30 on the blue. So this is one's kind of down there in that yellow range of the 60s and the 90s, even though I do think it's kind of cool. Definitely think it's kind of cool. And if you want to see what actually sold on this one, well, this one sold for none. We have no copies. We have no copies that we can show as evidence to back up the prices. So also kind of interesting. And then I'll take us to our last decade variant, which is the purple. The purple for the 2000s. And you can see here where he's joining the Avengers finally. After all those decades Spider-Man's been around, here we were actually seeing him kind of headline the Avengers title there with the new Avengers and, the Bendis kind of run and time frame. Marcos Martin, once again, final time here, June 2012. What's out there for sale? This one's a little cheaper, down at $9 all the way up to $35. So there are cheaper copies to start. And if we want to see what actually sold, well, at auction, one on November 28th ended for $5.01. So pretty cheap. And then $12 buy it now on November 30th were the two most recent sales I could find, just as examples to show you what these books kind of do. Because once again, I'm showing this pricing information just to give you a ballpark of how much is being asked, how much is being paid, so you can make that call if you're interested in any of this stuff. I don't know. I find this stuff kind of interesting. If I can find them for a decent price, I would consider at least these decades variants. I think they're kind of cool, but I haven't come across them in my travels yet. Yeah, and I'll keep an eye out for them next time I go out hunting. But with that said, we are now going to roll into our Spider-Man in motion variants. These are all 1 in 25 incentives, I believe. And these are a series of connecting covers. These kind of get broken out into chunks of 4. And I'll show you what I mean as we roll through them. These also, I believe, were all done in June of 2012. That same month as the 692, where we had all the decades variants. But we'll start off with Venom number 19 as our first Spider-Man 50th anniversary. You can see Iron Spider there with some of the Avengers. And this was a Sean Chen cover, as I said, June 2012, a 1 in 25 incentive. Available copies on this one. Found one for about $33 plus shipping from Australia. So actual cost will be about $50 out of pocket if you want this one in particular. So double ratio is not that cheap. And if we want to see what this one actually sold for, well, there are no sales recently. Interesting. And again, this is that Flash Thompson Venom run. Moving on to our next one, New Mutants number 44. Again, these ran across a multitude of Marvel comics. They just have nothing to do with Spider-Man in a lot of cases, and it's just for the anniversary, just to kind of celebrate Spidey across all these books. But here we have New Mutants number 44. We have a bunch of the villains there with the newer Kraven, Anna Kravenoff, and you can see Vulture, Electro, Rhino, Lizard there in the background behind Spider-Man. This is a Chris Stevens cover. Also, 1 in 25, June 2012, for this New Mutants book. And this one is not easy. There were no copies that I could find out there of this particular one. And there were also no copies sold. So this one could be a tough one to go and track down, because I don't believe this run of New Mutants was a big seller for Marvel at the time. So 1 in 25 incentive might be a tough call, a tough ask to going out there and find. So if you try to build out this set, this could be a toughie. Regardless of price, it's just going to be hard to find, because some of them are going to be pricey, where some of them aren't going to be that bad. But some are still going to be hard to find, which is going to take us to our next book and issue 3 in this first little set, this first little run, a mini set, I guess, of a larger set. Issue 19 of FF. This is the Future Foundation, but just subtitle, just FF, the secondary Fantastic Four title of the time. You can see Agent Venom and some of the other villains there on this cover as well. Mike Diodato did the cover art here. Also 1 in 25 incentive. Available copies on this, there are also none. So this also could be a tougher one to find. And if you want to see what actually sold on this, well, there were some sales from as low as $13 and as high as $172.43. I don't know. I don't know if that sale error was actually completed or not, but that's what's reflecting in the actual sales history. So you can see October 21st, $13. You can see November 13th, $172.43 with $34 shipping from the UK. And then there's also a $30 buy it now there on December 17th. So I don't know if that outlier is a real sale or not, but it's there. So factor that into your pricing as well. Again, a wildly inconsistent pricing here. $13 up to about $200. Craziness. And then our final one in this little mini run is Secret Avengers 28, which I believe we've talked about before on some of our other cover runs that we did with the variants for Secret Avengers. And this is a 1 in 25 by Dale Keown, if I'm saying his name properly, of Incredible Hulk fame, Pitt creator. But this one, if you want to go shopping out there for it, you can find it for as cheap as $5 up to $15. So this one's not bad for a 1 in 25. If you can get a 1 in 25 for $5, you can't really do wrong there. So some of these you will be able to get an ad for cheap, whereas it may cost you a pretty penny on some of the others. But there are no recent sales, so we don't know what this might go for. And as I kept mentioning, this is like a mini run amidst the larger run. But here we go. You can see these build out. It's kind of like a connecting cover set of these 4. These all 1 in 25s. You can see how they all go and make a bit of a larger image when you put them together. And as I said, these are going to stack with the subsequent sets of 4 that we get and kind of build out almost a poster. It's not as clear right here of how they're going to connect. I mean, there's going to be a lot of white in between, but you will see there will be some interplay between top row and bottom row in a couple of cases as we move on through. Here, I think the connective tissue is this webbing that's running down through, and we'll see it on probably our first book that's about to come up here. And our first book in our next batch is going to be X-Men Legacy, number 268. And you can see here where Ben Reilly's webbing is shooting up, and that's what's connecting to that first issue up top above it there. And then you can see it's more webbing shooting down below that's going to connect in down on another series of covers. Because again, they're going to be rows of 4 as they connect, and I think 5 rows of 4. So yeah, like I said, build out something kind of poster size. I'll show you the full image as best I can at the end here, but it's definitely an interesting concept and an interesting cover set if you can complete it out. I don't know how you would display something like that at home, but there it is. Pascal Ferry did the cover on this one, June 2012. Once again, as all of these are 1 in 25s. Available copies on this. This one's as cheap as $4 up to $19. So again, as cheap as $4 on this one, which is above cover because these are, I think, are $2.99 issues at the time, but still, that's still pretty cheap. It's still pretty cheap if you really think about it. X-Men Legacy. And one sold for $10 on September 22nd. So it's been a while since there's been a sale, but there it is. There was a sale for $10. And our next cover is pretty cool with a nice little Carnage on Wolverine number 308. So Wolverine, you're getting Carnage as well. Pretty cool. This is a Paco Medina cover. Also, not too bad. I do like the cover art on this. And you can see some of the connecting bits peeking through on the side there. Available copies on this. This is on the pricier side, about $40 to $50 thereabouts for the asking prices. And if you want to see what's sold, well, the sales are $46 at auction and $50 to $5 buy it nows. And that buy it now was just December 17th. So only a couple of days ago on that one. So some of these, like I said, are a little pricier than the others. But when you balance them out, you got a $50 one here, a couple $4 ones there. Maybe it's ultimately not that bad considering these are all, again, 1 in 25 incentive variants. So if you're looking at them at a ratio, then you're ballparking ratio price is $25 each. So that's going to be an expensive set to collect in the first place. So factor that in as well. Which is going to take us to our next cover, which is another nice one. I like this Venom Mary Jane cover. It kind of harkens back to Venom's first appearance when MJ's walking through the door and then she runs into Venom. Mike Deodato cover here, June. Again, 2012. Available copies on this one, $20 to $85 on the asking prices, but most of them are kind of in that $30-ish kind of range as far as copies out there. And if you want to see what actually sold, well, one sold at auction for $20 in with one bid in October. So yeah, so still about $20 was the last sale. Not too shabby. And then our last one of this next set of covers, going back to Kraven's Last Hunt there with Spidey in the black suit here, pulling himself out of the grave, Journey into Mystery, issue 639, another 1 in 25. This is a Tom Rainey cover. Pretty cool. And copies on this were asking 32 plus $10 shipping, so like $40 to $60. So again, another pricier one. Not all of these are cheap. Some of these are tough. And A Journey into Mystery was another title that didn't have a huge print run at the time, so finding copies of this may be difficult. And the only one I could see that actually sold was a CGC 9.4 that sold for $20 at auction, plus shipping, but still $20. Not too bad. I know it's only 9.4, and a lot of people are 9.8 or bust, but still, a tough book like this, I think that's a good price for something graded because $20 is more than it costs to actually grade the thing. But like I said, that's the last cover we have in this next set. So let's see how this one connects out. When you put them all together, it is still pretty cool, just like the last ones. And like I said, they will connect above and below as we move through these the rest of the way. So let's move on. Let's not linger too long. Fantastic Four 607. This has, Jackal. It's harkening back to ASM 129. See, these are kind of hitting up those big moments in Spidey's history and just taking a different angle, different peek at them than we might have seen normally. So you get that whole, you're still getting that kind of targeting look on ASM 129. You're still getting Jackal. You're still getting Punisher, but it's on FF 607 and it's 125 by Koi Pham. Pretty cool. He's a nice guy. We got to talk to him on 3 Comic Money way back in the day. He was generous enough to give us some time to talk about his art and some of his stuff. This is a $10 to $20 cover. So not too bad. Not too bad for a 1 in 25. On the cheaper side than some of the other ones we just ran across. And if you want to see what actually sold, well, one sold for $10 in October. So still a while ago, but still only sold for $10. Take us to our next one. Incredible Hulk number 9. Looks like we have maybe a clone Spidey. 2 Spideys facing off against each other. So I'm thinking this is probably going back to ASM 149 at this point with this cover. Like I said, with the clone, introduction to Ben Reilly. Incredible Hulk number 9. This is another Koi Pham cover. So he got to do 2 right next to each other. Some of the artists you'll see here do kind of show up a couple times on this list, but not necessarily as we have here where they're side by side. Some of them are kind of stacked or moved around a little bit. Copies on this one are anywhere from $10 to $20 to $30 basically. So $10 to $30 are the asking prices on this Hulk. 1 in 25 with no recent sales to give us any sales information on that one if you were looking or shopping. Going to move on to our next Captain America, number 13. And we can see here you got Big Wheel, you got Hobgoblin, you got Rocket Racer. So now we're talking about those kind of late 100s, early kind of 200 range of comics for ASM as we're moving through his history on some of these covers. This is a Larry Stroman cover, 1 in 25. Available copies on this one are 20, 25 bucks. So they're in right around ratio. Not too bad there. And no recent sales either on this. So you can see a lot of these haven't had any sales in the last couple of months. So they're just not something people are looking at. And like that's what, again, why I like looking at stuff like this. I like looking at things that are not at the top of everybody's want list right now. Just kind of spread some awareness, some cool stuff that might be out there when you're digging in a box that you might be able to find yourself for cheap because nobody else is looking for it. It's not at the top of everybody's pull list at the moment. And wrapping up our third little mini run in this set of covers, we have Mighty Thor number 15, Black Cat, Silver Sable. So we're again hitting in that like late 100, early 200 run because I think it was 194 for Black Cat, and then what was it, 260 something, 265 on Silver Sable. I could be wrong with my numbers, but I'm just going off of memory here. This is a John Tyler Christopher cover. Something different for JTC. It's not an action figure, but you can still see that kind of painterly quality that he puts into his art there. 1 in 25 as well. This one's going to be a little bit pricier, I believe, on the asks because of the two, Black Cat and Silver Sable. So $85 to $125 right now for raw copies. Those are pretty steep asks. So this is one of the pricier ones right now, it seems. But when you look at the actual sales, they don't sell for nearly that much. The last couple of sales have sold with 8 bids up to $11.50 on November 5th and an $18 buy it now on November 16th. So maybe just be patient and wait for like a cheaper copy to come to market. Just saying. Or if you're impatient and you think it's really worth it, go ahead, shoot for one of those 85 or 125 if you want. But as you can see here, you can get this for cheaper as these sales were again November 5th, November 16th, only a few weeks ago. So it's not like these are ancient sales and the prices skyrocketed out of nowhere. It's just sometimes that's what's left behind are the higher priced ones where the cheaper copies get scooped up when they pop up. So just be mindful, be aware, be on the lookout, and maybe you can scoop one of these up for cheap as well. So, as I said, that was the 4th cover in our next little run. Let's see how this one builds out. You see, pretty cool. They all kind of line up there all together. And you can see Spidey's arms dipping down there on that first one. So it's probably going to connect into the top of our next issue to kind of, again, build out and connect this thing out. So when we get to our next issue, which is right below that ASM 129 kind of homage, you can see where, yes, Spidey's arm is dipping down here with Dark Avengers, number 175. This is a pretty cool Humberto Ramos cover. So 1 in 25, still same month, we're still in June 2012, as all of them are. And you can see this is harkening back here to, Gwen Stacy and Green Goblin. So we're talking ASM 120s, 121, 122. Available copies on this, we're looking at as cheap as $13 or as expensive as $90. So again, wildly inconsistent pricing. Looking in the middle, there was a $33 from Australia with $17 shipping. So there's a $50 copy in the middle. But look, you can get it as cheap as $13. So if you want it, you can get it for half ratio. And if you want to see what actually sold, well, we don't have any recent sales right now. So it's up to you to set the market at that next price if you're so inclined. Again, moving back through time, I guess it looks like we are hitting up Morbius here. And the Spider-Man with the multiple Spider-Man arms coming out there. This is like, so we're hitting up like ASM 101 there with Morbius. This is X Factor 237. So this is a 1 in 25 for X Factor 237. This is Carlos Barberi as the artist. I don't know his art all that much, but you can see there the little connection with the little Spidey's arm going off to the side. Available copies on this one are going to run you anywhere from $45 to $55. So this ain't cheap for this one. X Factor was also a title. As much as I enjoyed it and loved that Peter David run with X Factor Investigations, it was not a heavily printed or heavily ordered title. So 1 in 25 is probably going to be on the tougher side, which is probably why part of this is a little bit more expensive. I guess Morbius could be another reason as well. There's a lot of people looking forward to Morbius these days. So Morbius is in the character who has a ton of variant covers. So when you do find one that he is the subject of, those could be a little bit more in demand than maybe some of these other books. But recently sold copies on this. You can see this thing can sell, though, for as cheap as $10 with a December 15th sale, one bid at auction. So, again, at auction, this thing went for only $10. Again, I keep reminding you, if you're selling something that's just not really in demand, it's kind of hard to find, don't put it at auction because you're going to end up probably selling it for whatever your minimum asking price is, even if you do. So maybe just do a buy now, be patient, field some offers, and see where the market might set itself for you. So moving on to our next book, we have Avengers Academy, number 31, connecting here with Kingpin. So if we're moving even further back, now we're talking with this ASM 50, his first appearance at Kingpin, that maybe we're getting a little homage, a little nod to. This is Steven Segovia cover, 1 in 125, as all the rest have been. Available copies on this one are going to be a little bit in that easier to find range, considering you can get it for as cheap as $3 up to $10. So this one you can get for $3, $6, or $10. These are 3 copies I found. I believe there's more than this out there, but this is the range of this one. So this is well below ratio. So again, this is where you can find the cheaper ones to kind of help balance out some of those pricier or harder to find ones possibly. Even though I can't imagine Avengers Academy is all that easy to find at issue 31, because I don't think this was a huge title either for Marvel, but no recent sales, so we don't know for certain what the market will yield, but apparently $3 is out there. And then our final one of this next run, and I think this is our second to last run, Avengers Assemble number 4. So this was a newer Avengers title. We can see here, I believe those are Vulture's wings there at the bottom of this page. So again, you can see the different layers and levels kind of bleeding into one another that are going to be making our larger image. This is, again, calling back to, I believe, that same time frame of the Kingpin book where Spider-Man No More. So we're getting that with this Steven Segovia cover as well. So they must have done both covers. I don't know if it's Steven or Stefan, but Segovia got to do these 2 covers side by side. Again, same time frame, so that's kind of cool. 1 in 25 available copies on this one, and are also pretty cheap. We're as cheap as $6 up to $19. So definitely under ratio for this one as well, if you're out there shopping. And no recent sales to report on this one. And if we want to see it, let's build this one out as well. You can see here, you got everything kind of matching up pretty well there. With, like I said, I believe that's Vulture's wings bleeding through from the bottom and Spidey's arm from the row above. So you can see how they're kind of even amongst the rows, having a little interplay amongst these connecting covers, which is also, like I said, pretty cool. And I think we are wrapping it up here with our bottom row and our final set of 4. We're going to start with an Amazing Spider-Man cover. Yep, Amazing even got one here. Amazing 687. And this is during that run of pretty expensive ASM variants as well. I mean, I believe the Lizard one is the next issue after this, the 1 in 50 with the J. Scott Campbell. I believe the Mary Jane, Venom cover was also right around in this range, in this kind of part of the run. And I mean, the Diodato was also not that much further before, because I think that was 667. So again, a lot of variants that are very expensive running through this kind of time frame for Amazing Spider-Man. So just keep that in mind as well. This is a Mike Perkins cover on this 687. Again, 1 in 25 available copies are asking anywhere from $20 to $35. So you're hitting ratio and a little bit above. Not awful, but ASM variants are going to command a little bit of a premium over maybe some of these, I don't want to say weaker titles, but not so heavily collected titles. Like you can see, Avengers Academy obviously doesn't have that many fans, considering you can find a 1 in 25 variant for $3. That's, cover price, a decade later. Just saying. And recently sold copies on this one. 6 bids to get it to $10 there November 19th, and then 9 bids got it to $34 on November 5th. So a couple of auctions went off last month, getting you $10 to $35 thereabouts. So interesting on this one. Our next cover connecting there is Age of Apocalypse 4. We got another Doc Ock, and you're getting Lizard. So I think here in this kind of range, we're starting to get more towards the initial opening characters that we might have seen in those first few ASM runs, kind of like the larger villains, their first introductions, kind of harkening back here at the bottom for this 50th anniversary of Spider-Man. So 50 years of Spidey, which is, again, while we're covering this this topic, not only just because of No Way Home being out in theaters, but again, this was the 50th anniversary run, and this was in 2012, so one would think we might be getting a 16th anniversary cover run, maybe coming next year for ASM as well in 2022. So just keep an eye out for it. This here is another Mike Deodato cover. He's shown up on our list already. I think a couple of covers up above. 1 in 25 on this one as well. Age of Apocalypse. This one, only one out there for $50, so not cheap on this one. And only one available at the moment, so keep that in mind. And as you might have guessed, there are no recent sales on this one. Which is going to take us to our second to last book. This is Winter Soldier number 6, and here we can see that vulture wing that I kept referencing before. You can see that where it goes shooting off of the side of the page here, and it's going to end up continuing not only through our next book, but up above to the row above. And we also got Doc Ock's arms from the previous issue kind of showing up here as well. Again, I like connecting covers. I like to see that little bits bleeding into one over the other and seeing how they connect up. This is Coleman. I don't know if I can get this one right. Adros. I'm not even trying. You can see there's a lot of consonants in there. So there it is. If you want to know the cover artist, I'm not going to stumble any further on that one. But June 2012, once again, available copies as cheap as $8, as high as $32. With, as you might have guessed, no recent sales to report. And then our final cover, again, you can see that vulture wing appearing here that also bleeds off the top and goes up into the row above. X-Men number 30. So this is, I think, volume 3 of X-Men at this point in this 2012 range. This is a Mike Perkins cover. Pretty cool. And you got, again, Spidey going up against his nemesis, the Green Goblin here on our last issue. So it's a nice way to kind of cap this one off. Available copies on this. It's $12. So this one ain't expensive. $12 you can get this one for. And that one's from Hong Kong, actually. So shipping is not too bad. And no recent sales. So there we are. Our final set. Let's see how this row connects up. Again, the vulture arm, the Doc Ock arms going onto the sides there. Spiderweb bleeding through Cityscape. Pretty cool. I like this row quite a bit. And you got to imagine, that ASM cover would have been from very, very early on, because that's probably the burglar that he let go. That had murdered Uncle Ben. But there we have it, our bottom row for our huge connecting poster. As you can see here, when you take the trade dresses away, some of them kind of bleed in a little bit to above and below, some of the interplay between the different rows. But we're talking about 4 comics across, 5 comics down. So we're talking 20 books that will all connect up some huge mega connecting poster size wall of an image, if you were to find one. Find them all and be able to display them all somewhere. So hopefully you like that. And hopefully you enjoyed this look at the 50th anniversary covers for Amazing Spider-Man. Again, I didn't do all of them because all of the regular titles of ASM, and there are some good covers in there too. They're just the regular covers, but they're in there. And then there were some B covers mixed in, some other titles. We just couldn't do them all. I mean, as it is, we just did at least 30 comics, and I think that was plenty. We're already like 40 minutes in. I don't like to make these things go too long, but hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully you enjoyed this series as well as all the other content here on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Just a reminder to check out the live show on Wednesday to maybe win yourself some free prizes. And I'm going to have another Spider-Man themed Chasing Ghosts for this week hitting up tomorrow on Tuesday. So keep an eye out for that one as well. But once again, hopefully you enjoyed that, and I will see you guys soon with some more content.